Sadly, following her drunk driving conviction, a Long Island judge sentenced Dina Lohan to 100 hours of community service. Lindsay's mom was arrested last year after Long Island police discovered how much she loves their local iced tea. Rihanna left little to the imagination as she walked a Fashion Awards red carpet wearing a see-through dress. Despised by PETA for regularly wearing fur, the singer considered going bare-breasted if wearing a bear's breast didn't seem more like a winter accessory. Completing a 20-year sentence, the real-life cocaine smuggler played by Johnny Depp in the movie Blow is now a free man. Well, that seems kind of obvious. When has a free man ever been in prison?
There must be a con like me in every prison in America.
Okay, I stand corrected. The cover photo was recently released for Irish singer Sinead O'Connor's upcoming record. In light of her feminist views, CD versions of the upcoming album will be sold without that hole in the middle. And that's the Hollywood Rockin' Wrap-Up. Follow us on Twitter at Rockin' Wrap-Up.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Wicked Edge. I am your favorite hostess with the mostest, Tiffany Bath. How is everybody doing today? Hope everybody's having wonderful. I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. I hope everybody had a fantastic start to their week. The weather is looking up nicely if you live in the upstate New York, so that's pleasant. That is always pleasant, all of that. Tonight we have a fabulous show for you. Tonight we're going to have on legendary actor, Hollywood icon, heartthrob, Tim Reed. You might have known him from WKRP in Cincinnati and Simon and Simon and the movie It. If you're anything like me, I'm a total horror movie buff. I love the movie It. And he was there with Richard Thomas. He was a very intricate part of that movie, and that was a book by Stephen King. I love that movie. Tim Curry was the perfect scary clown. Was he not? But and Tim Reed was in Sister Sister, and he's a speaker, and he is an all-around amazing person, and he has given me the pleasure of having him on my show, and I hope you enjoy him as much as I do. He should be calling in any second now. And I'm so excited because he's so fantastic. Before he calls in, I just want to give a shout-out to a couple of our sponsors. The Caring Coaching Center. If you're looking to be a healthier, brand new you, which we all are, every day I wake up, I'm like, I'm still going to lose weight right after this chocolate bar. I do that every day. Caring Center is a place for you. Our sponsors are so amazing, and Karen is an amazing caring coach, as a matter of fact. And she designs her programs to specifically fit your needs. So I want you to go to www.thecaringcoachingcenter.com, and I want you to look at Karen's profile. I want you to look at her website, see what she has to offer. And not only that, I want you to email her for a free 60-minute health history consultation. That's right. She gets your health history so she can see how to design the perfect program to meet your specific target needs. If you want to lose more weight, she'll design a program to lose more weight. If you want to have less stress, she'll help you have less stress. And she works for you and with you inside your body and out. So go to www.thecaringcoachingcenter.com and email Karen for your free 50-minute health history consultation today. Also, Fort William Henry in Lake George, the beautiful resort in Lake George, New York. has so much to offer. It has gorgeous water, beautiful mountains, and comfy accommodations. We were just there this weekend, and the bed is heavenly. Like, just melt right into it. Have the best night's sleep. Excuse me. And they're surrounded by so many things to do. You can go to the Haunted Wax Museum. You can go boating. You can go water skiing. Go swimming. You can go to water parks. You can go to theme parks. You can go shopping, hiking, anything you want. They have there for your spring and summer activities. That's go to www.fortwilliamhenry.com. They also, if you're into the paranormal, they also have an acclaimed haunted fort. It's pretty eerie, but it's really cool to see what they, the soldiers had to do way back when in the Civil War and Revolutionary War. So, again, go to www.fortwilliamhenry.com and email for your reservations today. They also have like a brochure online that you can go and see all the activities that Lake George has to offer, and that's in upstate New York, right on the Adirondack Mountains. You can't beat it. It's gorgeous. Also, Rolling Hills Asylum in East Stephanie, New York, right outside of Batavia. They're holding so many events this year. They're going to hold some animal events where you can go and adopt animals out of shelters, and that's a rescue event. I'm so excited. I'm a huge, huge animal lover. They're also going to have music events. They have movie nights. They have ghost tours. And Sharon Farley really takes amazing care of the place. And if you're a history buff, you'll definitely see where it has a lot of history because it's literally in the middle of nowhere, yet close to everything. But you have to know where you're going and be able to find it. Because it was a poorhouse, it was a prison, it was an asylum, it was everything. And it also has a cemetery on the ground. Crazy, right? But it's super, super cool. And Sharon, like I said, Sharon takes great care of the place. And she holds captive and public haunts. So if you're interested, you can go to www.rollinghillsasylum.com, look over the whole entire website, and email Sharon for information. You never know what might be new and coming up. So, and it's a fun place. So I highly recommend it. Again, go to www.rollinghillsasylum.com and email Sharon or even call Sharon today to reserve your tickets to any events or even, sounds exciting, right? Mr. Reed has not called in quite yet. He should call in at any minute. Excuse me. So we also have a lot of other guests coming on The Wicked Edge. We're amazing. We're going to have on Josie Milner here in a couple weeks. She is teen country singer and anti-bullying advocate. She's going to be coming on, and I'm going to have a pleasure to speak with her. Alan Ross, country singer, will also be coming on. I'm going to have the pleasure of speaking with him. He's been on Counting Cars. He's been on, a ton of hunting shows and car shows, and he is an amazing country singer. He has a single out right now called Rebel Yell, and catchy tune. Love it. I listen to it all the time. He is such a talented singer, so talented, and I think you're really, really going to enjoy his music and enjoy him. He sounds like so much fun. If you are, speaking of musicians, if you are a musician and you would like your band or even your solo project featured on our website, you can email me at dtnwicked@yahoo.com. We're always looking for new artists or bands to feature on our website. We right now have on Maul, band Maul, we have Derek Davis from Babylon AD, who's a huge musician. We have on Ivan DePrume and his music and his new band, and he was the drummer of White Zombie. We have country singer Amy Rose, country singer Jiggly Jones on there. We also have country singer Marshall Dane on there as well. So if you're a band and you want your music featured among all these recording artists on major labels, I say give me an email. Give me that at dtnwicked@yahoo.com. Also, if you're a writer, whether you're a novelist or a journalist, even a blogger, if you have books out or any kind of published works and you'd like them featured on our Author's Corner, you can email me at dtnwicked@yahoo.com for more information. Right now we have on Chad Stambaugh and Andy Norwich. We're going to be putting up Shipwreck and Fall and Christopher DeCesare. They are authors as well with amazing books. And they're going to be joining our Author's Corner as well. And let me tell you, we get lots of hits every day. We're on Excite Radio, we're on iHeartRadio, we're everywhere. And all these people look at our website all the time. So Again, if you're an author or a musician, email me at jtmwicked@yahoo.com. Also, if you're a sponsor looking to get your business out there and you like and appreciate aggressive advertising, email me at jtmwicked@yahoo.com. I can send you more information about the sponsorship that we offer, and we'd love to have you. We love advertising businesses. We love giving people exposure and traffic flow. So if you want to do that, we would love to have you. Again, it's me at gtmwicked.com. Just put in the tagline sponsorship, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'm not really sure where Mr. Reed is. He should be here any second. I know he's an incredibly busy man. He was so thankful. I'm so thankful, and because he's been so gracious to agree to come on the show. And I can't wait to have him. I have so many questions for him. I used to watch WKRP in Cincinnati as a child with my mom, and I used to love that show. Venus Flytrap was my absolute favorite favorite character on there. And I always loved how he was so funky on the radio and, always had his jazz going. I also loved Simon and Simon, which he did with Mr. McGreedy, who was also a major dad. And I loved that show. They had such a good chemistry. It was always so funny. I mean, it was full of action, it was funny, and it was so much fun. Like, I miss 80s television. I miss 80s television. Like, yeah, some of the shows on now are fine, but I really miss 80s television because it was so much fun. It was a lot simpler back then, and there wasn't so much in your face. There was more innuendo and slapstick, and I really kind of missed that. I also loved It. I actually read the book It, and then I watched the movie, and I could not sleep for days. I'm not a big fan of clowns, and Tim Curry, he can pull off a really freaking scary clown. I mean, can you imagine, like, hearing from your drain pipe, "Come on, Billy, we float. We'll all float down here." I think I would poop my pants. As a matter of fact, I know I would poop my pants. And I don't know how they did it. I think even as an actor, I would lose my mind. I would never want to see another clown as long as I live, because that would just scare the crap out of me. But the movie was so well done. If you read the book and you watched it, you know that the movie was relatively close to the book. There's just a couple things that they changed up, but it's for Hollywood, and it's okay. But Tim was so well, and he played scared so very well. I wouldn't have to play scared. I would be scared. I don't know how well I would do. I wouldn't have to act much, that's for sure. Because that was a scary, scary movie. But it was a good movie. One of my favorite Stephen King novels, and one of my favorite Stephen King movies of all time. That and Stan. But Tim did well, and what a cast too! Richard Thomas, John Ritter. You had Green as a kid. I mean, so many wonderful, wonderful cast members. All rolled in, Harry Anderson, all rolled into one movie. And they all had a distinct character. And they all had a distinct fear. And I thought the concept of it was really interesting of how, in the movie, of how, this clown played off everybody's fear. So it wasn't just a clown. They always had to face their worst fears. And I can't wait to ask him about that, because that's just going to be crazy. That's going to be so much fun and so crazy. We're just still waiting on him. And I was looking at the cast of KRP in Cincinnati, and I forgot how much fun they are. Like, I forgot Lonnie Anderson was on it, because it's been so long since I've seen it. But latest Venus Flytrap, Tim Reed's character, always stuck in my head, always, because he was just the coolest. He was the hippest, and he had, like, the best show. And then there was Terry Huffman, and he had the lackadaisical, like, hippie attitude, and it was such a fun. And it looked like they had a lot of fun. I can't wait to ask them about it, because it looked like they had, like, a ton of fun doing the show. And, I want to get the dirt, because now sometimes, you have the shows, and it looks like they had great chemistry, but then here behind the scenes, there was always a rift between this one and a rift between that one, and this one wanted, more credit than the other one. I wonder if that's what happened. I wonder if that ever happened. I have to ask it. You think they'll give me the dirt on it? I don't know. I hope so. Yes. So, yes, I hope that. I can't wait to get that. I'm not really sure where he is. I hope he's not standing up. I might cry. I just might cry. But we're going to take a quick commercial here, and we'll be right back, hopefully, with Mr. Tim Reid. Take us in, and then, I don't know, what to check out. Hey, everybody, and we are back from commercial, and you'll never guess who I have on the other line. It's Mr. Tim Reid. Woohoo! Hi, Mr. Reid.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Awesome. I'm trying really hard not to fan out. Huge fan. Everybody, this is, iconic actor, Hollywood legend, Mr. Tim Reid, and I am just privileged and honored and overjoyed to have you on The Wicked Edge.
Oh, thank you. I've been hearing a little bit about your program.
I'm sorry. I hope it's all good. Did they pay you? Did they pay you them? I pay people to say good things.
No. I just said some nice things about it. It was growing and very popular.
Well, good. I owe them extra money then. Awesome. You have had such an amazing career. You've done so much within acting and everything else, and I have to ask, when did you realize that acting was kind of your niche and what you wanted to do?
Well, I don't know. It really wasn't. I've had sort of unusual journey into show business. It wasn't planned. It was one of those things. One day you make a right turn instead of a left turn, and your life changes. I didn't really seek to be an actor or anything. I just sort of followed the excitement of the moment and became passionate passionate about the experience of doing stand-up comedy, and then what is acting like, and then what is writing like, and what is directing like, and what is producing like. And hey, I think I'll own my own studio. I mean, it's sort of been me following my own passion and drive to experience everything I possibly could at the moment that I was involved in whatever it was I am. That's kind of how it happened. I'm not, unlike a lot of my friends and people I know in the business who studied in school, went to drama school, went to all that, and had a wonderful career. I just sort of did it on inspiration, on a dream, or taking a shot at something and going, that's fun. I enjoyed that. Let's do that. Well, I didn't like that. I'm not doing that anymore. That's kind of the way I've always lived my life.
Well, you know, that's also really fun, because it's fun when you kind of fall into something and realize that you really enjoy everything involved with it, instead of, you know, it's great to have a dream, but sometimes those dreams that just kind of happen are the best kind.
Yeah, it certainly has been that way in my life. You know, you got to be able to accept change, because anything you do with passion is going to create a lot of volatility in your life. It will affect other people, and you've got to be willing to accept the consequences. And I think that that's one thing, if anything, I've learned over the 40 years I've been in show business, is that you cannot be afraid of change and succeed in our business, because it's constant evolution, it's constant change, and you have to change with it, or in some cases change your environment, change your location, change. You got to be able to say, okay, comedy is fun, but that doesn't seem to be the path that's giving me the kind of pleasure. Let me try acting. Oh, acting is great, but that's not all I want to do. I want to write. I want to direct. I want to produce. You know, I want to travel. So all those things become your driving force, and you follow them. They don't always lead to what one would call success, but they certainly lead an interesting path for one.
Oh, absolutely. And you have to evolve, especially in the entertainment industry. You have to keep evolving, and you have to step outside of your comfort zone, because if you don't, you'll just kind of get lost in the masses.
Yeah, well, I haven't found a comfort zone yet. It's all been nerve-wracking.
But that's a good thing, because it makes you keep growing. You don't get too comfortable.
Keeps you young.
You know what? That's true.
Anyway.
You gotta be. I've also heard mayonnaise on your pores keeps you young too, but I don't think I'll try that.
No, I ain't going that far.
That's true. Could get a little mess. What was your first acting opportunity?
My first acting opportunity was one of those things that, again, just happened. My son expressed, when he was about 4 or 5, expressed interest in doing commercials. He came and said, Dad, I'd like to try that. So I took him downtown to an agency in Chicago, where I was living at the time, and took him in and said, my son is interested in, I know nothing about it. And the guy looked at him and looked at me. He says, here, take this address, go to this address and have your son audition. Let's throw him right in the fire and see if it's something he likes before we take it any further. I said, okay. So we got in the car and we drove up to this place. I went in. There were a bunch of people with kids, and they said, all right, in this room, your son will go in there. And they told me what it was. It was a commercial for People's Gas or something like that. Mm-hmm. And they came out and said, I love your son. He's got it. And I went, wow. Boy, this all happened in literally within an hour and a half or 2 hours. So as I was leaving, one of the women at the desk said, you know what, we're going to be having the fathers read in another 30 minutes. Why don't you stick around and read for the father? I said, okay. And I got the commercial, and I got my SAG card, he got his SAG card, and that was the first time I ever acted for a professional, situation. I acted a little bit in college, but that's the first time I really acted and got paid for it.
As you kind of rolled your journey into acting, was it much different than you maybe had thought? Because I'm sure you watched shows on TV like Andy Griffith and things like that. Was it much different than you thought? Was it eye-opening?
Not really. What was different was the procedures that you go through to act. Is that you hear in our business of phrase, hurry up and wait. It's all the things around the acting aspect is only a small part of the job. I mean, the weight, the makeup, the hair, all the stuff you got to do, the rehearsals, everything you do in between the time that you actually go on camera or before an audience and work, the preparation part was surprising to me. I had no idea it was that much work involved in acting. All you have to do to be prepared to act. The acting actually came, I wouldn't say naturally for me, but it was naturally fun, because I'd always, as a kid, been sort of outgoing and storyteller in my family, so I'd always played parts and tried to do impressions and things like that around for the family. So it seemed to be a natural extension of whatever that DNA in me was. So, but what did surprise me was, and made me really understand that if I was going to do it, that I had to take it more seriously, and that is what you have to do to be to sustain a career, the things you have to put into your life, the way you have to change, the way you have to really prepare. That part is always surprising to people, I believe.
Yeah, it's true, and I'll bring this up as an example. You know, when I was younger, I would watch movies, and, you know, they have the fight scenes, and they have this and that, and you just, to me as a child, perception of acting is you go somewhere, you read a couple lines, you do some pretending, and it's over. But when you watch it behind the scenes, like, you guys really work. Like, you have to go through the motions. You take lessons. Let's say you're in a combat scene, you take combat lessons. Yeah. Or it's physical, and it's very hard. It's not as easy as people think it is.
It's also, I say this because I have an institute, and I work with a lot of emerging filmmakers, and I tell them early in the beginning, I repeat throughout, our business is one of the most dangerous businesses in all of the world. I mean, people lose their lives making movies. It is a very dangerous business. It is because you're so susceptible to this fantasy world that you have created, this sort of faux artificial world that you live in as an actor or as a crew member. And the real world is all around you. There are cars moving by you. There's, if you're out on location, I mean, there's a world that's going on about its business while you are doing this pretend world. And those two worlds don't normally come together well. And so, you know, you step outside of your pretend world where you feel protected and secure, and you have people looking out for you and patting you and keeping you from sweating, and you step back into the real world. And if you're not careful, if you don't make the adjustments quickly, conflict can happen. And so I think a lot of people are surprised. And the equipment, not so much now, but back in the day, the equipment, you know, this is heavy equipment. I mean, the cameras, the Panavision camera is not something you just pick up with your right hand and walk away. Mm-hmm. So the equipment, it's all steel and glass and wood, and it's not there permanently. It's all hanging on gaffer tape. And if you're not careful, you know, a wall will fall on you, or a piece of equipment will jam you, or the dolly will ram you, or will roll over your foot, and you're gonna have trouble, because these are hundreds and hundreds of pounds of stuff moving about in a hurry, because people have got to get the shot, and their money is being spent, and time is valuable. So there's this sort of anxious energy, this very nervous, anxious energy on a set, that if you're not careful, it could work against you. So those are things that I learned early in my career that a lot of people are shocked by when they get involved into the real world or the artificial world that we create.
So really, being an actor, you have to multitask. You have to not just play your character. Not just play your character, but be very aware of your surroundings and everybody in it.
You always have to be aware of your surroundings, and it's. I think what separates the great actors from those who are also Rands are those who can do that and still go within a character and lose themselves in that character. And as soon as somebody else can come out of it and can exist and move about safely and interact in a way. Some actors stay in character the whole time, but, you know, they are protected. You know, once that movie is over, then they go into their real world. But you have to find the best way that suits you. But it is a very dangerous business, and it's, you know, with all that's just on the downside. The upside is, you know, it's wonderful. If you have an ego that's the size of a mountain that you need in show business, it'll certainly feed it till it engulfs you. But it is a true profession that I think one has to take seriously if one is going to survive beyond, you know, the 15 minutes of fame.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you know, you see it in in magazines and on TV every day. You know, one moment you're up on a pedestal, and the next, you know, you're being kind of run over by the masses.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's not a very forgiving business, that's for sure.
Well, business is built upon building and tearing down things. I mean, you know, they create stars, and then they, you know, it's drama, it's conflict. That's what our business thrives on, conflict, both on the camera and behind the camera. Conflict is the driving force of our business.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can say that because, you know, you're a legendary icon. You know, I think you are. I've heard the same thing from other people, you know, that people look up to you, and so you kind of maintained a really good status through all these years.
Well, you know, I try to carry on my life with as much passion and excitement about it as I possibly can. I follow my own path. I've never been a joiner. You know, I've never had really great interest in being part of whatever the clique is. I've always kind of gone my own way. I guess because I was an only child, and kind of, yeah, I am an introvert that enjoys flirts with extrovert lifestyles.
So you're complex, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And
I like to escape. So when things get, I get a little frustrated, then I'll get on a plane. I'll go somewhere and hide out for a while.
So you know you need that, because you need that to recoup yourself and to kind of get back to you and some kind of sanity.
Yeah.
There's such a thing. Now, I want to talk about WKRP in Cincinnati. That was a show I grew up watching. Your character was my favorite, Venus Flytrap. You know, you had the funny character, the edgy character. You know, you always kind of start out for the box. How did you come into that role, and how did you develop Venus Flytrap?
Well, I came into it as most actors. You know, it was an audition. I got a call to come in and read for this part. I didn't really know much about it till I got there. It was an early Monday morning call, and I had not heard about it till Friday late, and they said, go here Monday morning, be there at 10 or whatever it was. And I got there, and the room was packed with every black actor that had ever stood in front of anything, a camera or a film. It was just, everybody was there. And so I went in and immediately became, well, this is not going to go well. All these people are from all ages, everything you could think of. I mean, the whole spectrum of what a black man looks like in America was in that room. It's just the rainbow was in there. So I'm going, my God, what do they want? Nobody knew. So when I got the script of the sides, it mentioned the character with an ermine coat and a hat and flashy, and it was Yo Mama, and I thought, oh man, not again. I don't want to do this. I don't want to play this character. So I actually didn't read that much of the sides. I pretty much said to myself, I don't want to do this. I had just been released from a show because the director said I wasn't black enough, which was a big surprise to me. I had been black all my life. So to discover that was a big surprise. And then, yeah. So,
or what?
Beg pardon?
Should I go tanning or what? I'm totally missing your point. Not black enough.
Yeah, I wasn't black enough. I just did not have I wasn't the black person that he had grown up playing basketball with, I guess, in New York or wherever he was from. And so when I got the sides and saw this character description, I said, oh, no, not again. So I didn't really prepare that much, and I just kind of went in with, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to tell them what I feel. So I go in, there's a bunch of people in the room, the producers, Grant Pink, a bunch of folks, and the guy who created it, Hugh Wilson. And the first thing they asked me, said, what do you think of the script and the sides? And I said, well, I got nothing to lose to myself. I said, actually, I'm not sure I want to be 60 years old and have somebody say, hello, Venus Flytrap. I said, it seems a bit stereotypical to me. I said, I'm not sure I want to do this because unless the character has another side, I mean, if he's a radio guy, he has a radio persona. Most radio people I had met in my life, you listened to them on the radio, but when you saw them, they were nothing like their voices. I mean, they were, you hear this incredible romantic, deep voice. And you see a guy, and he's like overweight and balding, you know. So I said, so if you telling me that this is a duality in a character, I'm interested. And everybody said, well, thank you. You know, they didn't want me to read. And the producer, the guy who created it, said, hold on a minute. I hadn't thought much beyond the pilot, but I like that you're thinking beyond this character. Read for me anyway. So I read and left. And he stood up for me, and they said, well, it's not that important of a character. If that's who you want, you can have him. And that's how I got the part. And then Hugh Wilson, who was the creator and writer, and I we became very good friends. We're still friends to this day. And we began to, Venus was a collaboration of our friendship. He would ask me what I was into in my life, and I was into Eastern religions and gongs and candles and Bob Marley that no one had ever heard of really in America at that time. Mm-hmm. And reggae. I mean, he says, wow. And I'm very eclectic in my music taste. So those two things began to work together, his vision and my vision of the character. And we developed this sort of duality, Gordon Sims, Venus Flytrap. And it was a wonderful journey for me.
Aw, that sounds really cool. Like, I appreciate your character now, more now than I did before, because I know the workings behind it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I said on surface, the character Venus Flytrap is what he's supposed to be, broad, mm-hmm. Kind of flashy kind of guy. But what I loved was the fact that when he was the other parts of him, the Gordon Sims part, and a former school teacher. I mean, he was a really interesting irony in terms of his lifestyle and where he was, and it seemed to fit all the others because all the other characters had these unusual lifestyles. You know, they were the only person who was true to themselves, no matter where they were, was Johnny Fever, Howard Hessman. He was a burnout hippie, and he stayed in that no matter where. But the rest of those characters all were sort of pretending to be someone at the station, but deep down, they were different people, and I found that a lot of fun to play.
That is. And now, each time you got a script, were you and your fellow colleagues able to kind of help that script along with the story and make tweaks to it?
No, what would happen, again, we became, you hear the term family. We truly were a tight-knit family of actors. We spent our weekends together, all of us, at someone's house. We went through divorces and deaths and marriages, and we were always together those 4 years. Just about. I mean, we traveled together. We did a lot together. And what was happening was that the writers knew us, and we knew the writers so well. We were parties on the weekends, and so it was easier to be yourself and relate to them. And what would happen was whatever was going on in your life somehow would appear in that character's life in a very interesting way. The absurdities of our lives, the little quirks and the hang-ups would become sort of like part of the character in an interesting way. So there was a lot of respect and acceptance of the written word when it came to us. So it wasn't a sense of, I've got to change that. It was, what does that mean for my character? Not, do I want to change it, but what can I find from this to get deeper into the character? Or the writers would, so it was really a collaboration. But the stories themselves, the driving force of the story was Hugh Wilson. He's one of the great writers of all time in television. So he would write these quirky stories and just kind of throw these characters in there, and it was just wonderful discovery. I mean, I look at some of them now, and I think, my God, the stuff that we were doing back then about making statements about race, about the tragedy of the Who concert, and all these things that were going on in the world, we were dealing with it. And we were using music as almost like a character. No one had done that. There was no Mind Device at that time. We were the first television show to really integrate, popular music into storylines, way before Mind Device. And so it was a wonderful 4 years. I would have liked for it to go on full 10 years. I think we would have made a tremendous impact on the history of television and comedy.
Oh my gosh, I agree very, very much. Like I said, I watch the reruns now, being that I'm older. I appreciate them much more, and I do appreciate the storylines where you integrated things going on at that very moment into the storylines because it made it a lot more real. Yeah. we were heartbroken when it stopped, I'll be honest. We were like, no! I mean, all good things, unfortunately, do come to an end, to open up other doors.
Yep.
Now, I've asked this of other actors, and some of them are like, I do my job regardless of how I get along with the cast. It is what it is. But do you feel it makes your job more enjoyable and a lot easier when the cast does get along and you become as close-knit as you work?
Well, I've been fortunate to have been on a lot of shows in my career, and I can say without a doubt that the cast of WKRP in Cincinnati are probably the closest that I've ever had the opportunity of being with someone. We're still friends. I was actually with Lonnie and Howard and Jan last weekend. As I said, we've remained friends. I'm a parent of one of Hugh Wilson's children. I got married at Gordon Jump's house. We were truly a family and still very close with most of them. Now, that being said, there were some, including myself, that had peculiarities that one would either make for an interesting evening, or you wanted to avoid them when they got into that frame of mind. But that just made who those people were and made the experience even more interesting. But we all had our own little interesting quirks, that's for sure.
Well, everybody does. Everybody has that one side of us that you absolutely love or absolutely hate, I think.
Yeah.
But I think that's also what makes people love you, I do.
Well, the friendship has remained. That's the great thing.
That is. That's so awesome. It makes me even happy to hear that. I love it.
Well, it wasn't on all the shows. I mean, I'm friends with just about everyone I've ever worked with. Only one or two that I hope never to see again. But by and large, all of them, the twins on Sister, two of the nicest young ladies I've ever met, Jack Kay, the Simon brothers, Gerald McCraney and Jameson. I mean, they were wonderful people. Frank's Place. I've worked with some wonderful actors, and most of them are still friends. But the closest I've ever been with a group of people that I still remain very close with would be the KRP cast.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Now, you mentioned Mr. McGrady. Simon and Simon was another show that I watched with my mom. This is throwback to the 80s, so it's so nostalgic for me. This is my favorite themed month because, the 80s were the most wonderful time. I love these.
Good.
With Simon and Simon, was that the same thing, or were you personally approached to become part of that show?
Well, one of the writers for the show, two writers. One was a friend of mine. We had become friends in Chicago, and he was an actor. It didn't go well, and he became a writer and was one of the writers on Simon & Simon. The other gentleman was one of the writer-producers, who was Bill Dial, who had been on WKRP. So one day when I was in a funk, I hadn't worked, and I was thinking my career's over, the phone rang, and Bill Dial and Richard Chapman said to me, how would you like to be someone called Downtown Brown? And I'm going, what? Another crazy name? What is Downtown Brown? Well, his real name is Marcel Proust, named after a French poet. I said, I like that already. He's dual names again. And they said, well, we want to introduce this character. Why don't you come in and we can talk about it? We haven't sold it, pitched it yet, but we like the character. So I went in, we met, we talked about the character, and next thing I know, I get a call saying we're going to shoot an episode to introduce your character. And it was a great 4 years. It was the easiest job I ever had in my life, because those guys, I learned later when I did my hour show, but our format in television is the hardest work of any work in show business, including film, including stage. Our work in television, when you do an hour show and you're the lead, you get up in the morning, every morning, 5 days a week, at 4:30, 5 o'clock, because you got to be on the set at 6. You work till 8, 9 o'clock every day. You're in every scene. It is just unbelievable work. Now, if you add that, you're a producer or a director or whatever, it's even more. But it's the hardest work in show business, because you make the equivalent of a feature film every 14 days.
Right.
Because you're doing 43 minutes, each time, or 44 minutes worth of work. You do that twice, that's 88 minutes. That's almost a feature film, minus 4, 5, 6 minutes maybe. So it is a lot of work with a lot of extras and sets and moving about, and it is a nonstop. And if your show is on for years, it's unbelievable work. So those guys were working so hard, and my character was almost a relief for them. You know, I did more. They didn't like to do promoting of the show, so I was sort of this person, this sort of sidekick character that came in. And for me, I worked 2-3 days of the week. I come in noon, I say my lines, I get in my car, I go home. You know, while they were working all day, but they were nice to me. It was again 4 years of it came at the time I really needed it, and it helped me in my career to go on and do my own shows.
Aw, that's so awesome. You and Mr. McGree, and I said this before you called in, had a fantastic chemistry, as you all did with WKRP in Cincinnati. And I think that just makes even more pleasurable for the fans when you can definitely tell that two actors or actresses or whatever, the cast has a genuine chemistry.
Well, they were kidders. You got to have a sense of humor in our business, to say the least. You can't take yourself too seriously. And those guys are pranksters. They kept the set light. They were not egotistical maniacs. And it was really fun to be there with them. And so they treated me. They brought me in and accepted me without a whole lot of, I never felt like an outcast, although the show had been on 2 years before I got there. So they were really good, and also outstanding actors. Sometimes your acting ability gets lost in television, especially shows like Simon & Simon, which was sort of light comedy drama.
Right.
That one and Magnum, they had that sort of lightness about them, so you didn't really take the acting too seriously. But let me tell you, those guys really had great acting chops, and it made it easy to keep. It was sort of like, it's like a dance. You get into the rhythm with these guys, and they made you better by the mere fact that they were always so relaxed and in character that you just kind of, get right in it.
That's really awesome. And it's nice to have things like that, because then you could feed off of each other and learn from each other while doing your craft.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's always nice. I love that, and I love Simon. I love Mr. McCready. You guys, like I said, had such a good chemistry, and it was action, and it was comedy. It was nice both. It was family friendly, which was also great.
Yeah, yeah. And it also gave me an opportunity. I had written some shows for KRP episodes, maybe about 3, I think. And I wrote about 3 or 4 Simon & Simons, which gave me my opportunity to get more in the hour format. So it really, for me, was, I didn't direct any of those shows, but I wrote for just about every show that I was on, which really helped me to develop into a functional producer after that.
Do you enjoy writing? Is it another creative outlet for you that you really enjoy that you could teach into?
I don't know that I enjoyed writing. It's probably the most painful thing that of all the things that I enjoy. I do. It's just it's a solitary you and a computer, and now a computer and your thoughts and imagination. But I'm glad that I did it. I'm a better rewriter than I am a writer. But it helps me as a producer and a director to have that, and so I'm glad I had that opportunity. I'm a member of this Writers Guild, but to say I would have become a full-time writer, that would never have been my goal.
Now, when you handed in your final draft for your writing, was it ever in the back of your mind going, "Oh, I hope they don't think it's stupid because these are my colleagues. I hope they like it."
Well, it again. You think about that when you pitch it, but once you get the job, you're so happy to have the job assignment. You just want to finish that sucker and get it in, and hopefully that they don't change too much of it, because it's always going to be changed, because the head writer of the show is going to make it fit the Bible of the show, the character development, all that. So it's going to be changed. And the idea, though, is where you have your pride is, if you turn in a let's say a script for a show like Simon & Simon, you got 40-something pages or 50-something pages of script, 52 pages. If you get 30 to 40% of your original words as written on the screen, you are doing something. Believe it or not, you are doing something. And a few times that happened. I got more than 50% show, on a series show. And I'm not talking about a TV movie, but a series show. So those were the feelings that you had. You wanted to get as much of your original thought on TV as possible. And if you didn't get as much, you were hurt by that, or at least pained by it. And the more you got, the better you felt.
That's awesome. Now, out of producing, directing, writing, and acting, and various other opportunities you've had, do you have a favorite one that you prefer to do, or are you kind of just equal with all?
Well, I think I'm best suited for the one that I have not worked as much as I would like, and that is directing. I think all the skill sets that I have developed or been exposed to through being mentoring with other people, directing is the one that I feel the most, the most true to my nature. I mean, I really enjoy directing. I direct a lot of documentaries and stuff and small things, but I haven't directed as many. I've only done like 3 feature films that I've directed. Directed some television. I directed a show I created called Links for Showtime. I did about 12 or 13 episodes of that, which was a joy. So directing is what I really would have liked to have been known as. If someone would say, would you rather be known as be successful as an actor or director, I would choose directing without any question.
Now, you said I want to talk about it, but you said you directed some documentaries. What were the documentaries about?
Well, I'm directing some now. I do a lot of documentaries. I've done about 16 or 17 of them, all about all kinds of things, mostly about the history of the African diaspora worldwide. You know, I shoot in Africa, I shoot in Europe. I'm doing one now on Elizabeth Keckley, who is a black woman who was the dressmaker for Mary Todd Lincoln, an extraordinary woman of color who changed history in so many ways. Outstanding woman, and we're doing a documentary on her. I just finished one in Cuba where I did the shooting. I've been shooting it now for about 5 or 6 years. I just finished the shooting, and we're in the process of putting that together on the people of Cuba. It's more a look at the Cuban people as opposed to the country and the government and politics. It's really more about these incredible people that make up the millions that live on that island. And I've done, I'm a sculptor, so I'm working on one that I hopefully will shoot next spring in Florence about the first black man to rule a country, Alexandra, the last Medici. I'm just fascinated by this character, so I'm working on that. Hopefully, get that done next year. So little things like that. I love history. I'm always doing. I want to do more of Alhambra and things like that.
That's fascinating. That's just, I love documentaries as well. And now, are there documentaries that are out already that people can watch, and where can they find them that you direct?
Yeah, some of my documentaries are out there in various video stores or Amazon.com. I did one on black auto races called Black Wheels. I've done one on blacks in the military, the Red Ball Express, the Triple Nickel. One of my favorite ones I did on a female performer, black woman named Valeda Snow, who is an incredible character, musician. She played every instrument in an orchestra. She was a singer, an actress. She left America in the 1920s because she could not deal with the racism and lived in Europe and was known as the woman with the golden trumpet. Queen Wilhelmina gave her a trumpet, and she was the toast. She spoke Mandarin Chinese. She lived in Shanghai. Extraordinary woman who did and was captured by the Nazis. And there's debate whether or not she was served 2 years in a concentration camp or a regular prison. But she was taken by the Nazis when they overtook Holland, and interesting character. I did a documentary on her that I'm very pleased to have had the opportunity to do.
That's so awesome. I'm going to have to find that one because that is extraordinarily fascinating.
Yeah, for latest Snow, Lady the Golden Trumpet. I did one on the bombing of Tulsa in 1921, the only time that bombs have been dropped from planes on American soil was in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. fact, I understand now that the studios are trying to make a movie, not about my documentary, but about that incident. But I did a documentary about 8 years ago on that. So all kinds of documentaries.
Well, we're going to have to look those up, and I'm going to have to watch them. That's great. I mean, the material is sad and heartbreaking, but I'm interested to see the documentary and then, just kind of connect with it.
Well, I'm going to reestablish a site to show them, and people can either buy them or watch them. I had one, and we took it down, so we're in the process of getting that back up, and it'll probably be up within. I'm having a film festival, Legacy Media International Film Festival, in October, and I'm going to launch the site in conjunction with that. So, because a lot of the product that will be shown in the festival will be available.
Well, if you're not too busy, maybe you can spare 15 minutes. We can have you back on again in October, and you can tell us all about it. That would be great.
Yeah, please do.
Unfortunately, we're almost out of time, but I have to ask because this is one of my most favorite and movies, and it's also one of my most nightmarish. It.
Yes. It must be having a renaissance. I've been hearing a lot about it lately. Yeah, it was one of Stephen King's most frightening pieces, and with the least amount of in the television version, the least amount of characters in terms of hiddenness. The most frightening character, and it was a simple clown, and it wasn't a lot of makeup. It was just Tim Curry's interesting characterization and face and makeup, and it was just frightening. The way he portrayed it.
I read the book, and I have to say the movie was pretty true to the book.
Yeah.
Did you have nightmares about clowns after that at all?
Well, I tell you what, it did change my view of clowns, that's for sure. And it was a great. We spent several weeks up in Vancouver shooting that in Canada. All of us were sort of up there, and we hung out together. It was a glorious shoot. A few of them are no longer with us, but it was a wonderful shoot, and the piece was something that has become, like I say, almost a cult thing now. Mm-hmm. And I'm certainly glad I had the opportunity to do that.
I was talking a little bit about it before you called in, and I was telling our listeners how after watching it, I refused to go near storm drains if there was a balloon near them.
Yes.
And I gave you guys kudos because I couldn't do it. I could not do it. The book was enough.
Yeah.
I just holy bananas.
Yeah. No. Someone told me that they were considering doing a remake of that with another cast. But and I'd be interested to see how they do that with technology now. We didn't have all those apps and stuff that you can do incredible computer optical things. It'd be interesting to see. I really enjoyed the movie. The only thing that bothered me was the end when they brought us a little rubber creature. I mean, that's the only thing. I thought, oh man, come on, we go through all this and you bring out this little rubber thing. But, I'm sure they're going to do it better because they'll have have more money and they'll have higher tech. But back then it was a low tech creature.
That's what made it even scarier. I think people over CGI things now.
Yeah,
that's made it scary because it did look so real. I did not understand you guys at all.
The clown made it for me, though. I tell you, Tim Curry's, he became that clown. There was a scene we were shooting that's in the movie where he came up out of the grave.
Yeah.
And I remember being there. And I was like, I wasn't even thinking about the camera. It was frightening to me. And I was just standing there going, it just looked so eerie with him coming out of that grave as this clown.
And I wouldn't have to act because I would genuinely be scared. I wouldn't even have to act. And I was thinking, I said, I'm going to Tim Reeves the same way. Like, did he have to act? Or he was like, no, I'm scared to practice. Thank you.
No, there were a couple times where the director he told us, I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen. There was a scene in a Chinese restaurant. All these little things. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know which of us would get what, And then there was a scene in the library when the blood burst and all that. I didn't know what was going to happen a couple times, and so the reaction was real on a couple occasions. But I mean, we knew something was going to happen. They just wanted to surprise us, and they did.
The next time I watch it, like, you see that look on his face? That's so real. That's what I'm going to ask.
wasn't like Alien, but it was there.
Oh my goodness, we are out of time. That went by so fast.
Well, thank you.
Holy bananas. I want to thank you so much, Mr. Reed, for coming on the Wicked Edge with me. It has been I can't even convey to you what an honor it has been. And I hope I get to talk to you again, like in October. We'd love to have you come in so you can talk about your film festival and promote.
Right.
And you have an open door on the Wicked Edge.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Reed. Everybody, this is legendary actor and Hollywood icon, and everybody's Tim Reed. And you can find all of his works on YouTube and his documentaries. He told you where you could find them. And I'm so glad you're working and you're still sharing your craft with us. And again, thank you so, so much.
Thank you very much.
Everybody have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon. Good night, Mr. Reed. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
It's the Hollywood Rockin' Wrap-Up with your host, Jason Hadley. More and more production stills from the upcoming Star Wars sequel are leaking by the day. However, the movie features an older Luke, Leia, and Han Solo, so like the actors, I imagine most of that leakage is taking place in their sleep.
When 900 years old you reach, look as good you will not.
Freed after 108 days behind bars for assault, Chris Brown's vowed to never go back to jail again. Now it's about time, considering Chris Brown's been tried for domestic violence so many times, he swears on the Bible with the back of his hand. Bruce Jenner was spotted at a Hollywood nightclub catching his son Brody's DJ set. That, and if the sex change rumors are true, Bruce was probably also practicing for Ladies' Night. With her movie Maleficent a huge success, it proved to be Angelina Jolie's biggest opening weekend ever. That's of course not counting Saturday, July 12, 2008 when she gave birth to twins. And that's the Hollywood Rockin' Wrap-Up. Follow us on Twitter at Rockin' Wrap-Up.
This is the KXSR Digital Broadcast Network.
Oh, here we go. I believe it's the electronic techno wee rubba dee dee da rah music. Have a pleasant evening and be safe, not stupid, for the boogeyman will find you and wipe a boogie on you. Good night and sweet dreams.